Hi people, it's me Anja. My pronouns all she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new video. First of all, if you can hear my heater in the background, ignore that. Second of all, thank you so much for anyone who's ever commented that, first of all, I'm your favorite booktuber. That's absolutely absurd. And second of all, I love talking about middle grade books so often, and it's so exciting to find other readers who also enjoy reading middle grade too, because in most of my personal life, most people don't read middle grade regularly anymore, or they stopped when they were younger or something like that. So it's so exciting to find other people as well. So basically, all that to say, this video is dedicated to this commenter on one of my last videos. Thank you literally so much, because initially I was going to make just a TikTok post about the books in this video, but I decided to make an entire YouTube video simply just for you and also for anybody else. So anyway, with that said, today's video is focused on my most anticipated queer 2026 middle grade releases. So without any further ado, the first book on this list is called Brady Mason's Perfect Fit. This story is a middle grade contemporary that comes out January 13th of 2026 that follows a sporty foster kid who finds out that her biological mother is a famous fashion editor, which I think is such an interesting concept because, first of all, I love the idea of finding your family. I love queerness, obviously. I think the main character is sapphic, and I'm assuming that because all of the author's previous books have had sapphic main characters, and that's one of the reasons as to why I'm really looking forward to this book, because I trust the author's reputation. Also, second of all, I love the idea of a sporty main character finding her mother who's into fashion. Not to say that athletes can't enjoy fashion or anything like that, but basically the idea I'm assuming is that the main character and her mother's hobbies and interests don't exactly align, but they're family nonetheless. So anyway, with that said, I'm so excited to read this book. I know that's going to be absolutely so good and so awesome. So with that said, keep your eyes peeled for January 13th, 2026. The next book on this list is called Saber-Tooth. This story is a middle grade contemporary that follows an autistic transgender main character who digs up the bones of a saber-toothed tiger in his backyard, and it comes out January 27th. I'm so excited to read this book because Robin Gow, is it pronounced Gow or Go? I don't actually know. Anyway, Robin has become one of my favorite authors over the past few years, and I do not say that lightly. I love their books so much, particularly Dear Mothman, and I'm so excited to read this book. Ever since they announced it, I was so excited for it, and I just love this idea of cryptids, because obviously saber-tooths don't exist anymore, right? I'm confused. Anyway, also, I'm so excited for the autism representation, because when I was younger, I wasn't quite certain yet that I was autistic, so books featuring autistic main characters would have been such a good thing for me. So I'm so glad that I'm now reading them as an adult after I've discovered that I'm autistic, if that makes any sense. And secondly, or thirdly, I love the queer representation. I know the queer representation is going to be spot on, not just because Robin is a trans author themselves, but also just because their writing historically has been so eloquent and so well done. So anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited to read this book. It's going to be incredible. So with that said, this book comes out January 27th, 2026. The next book on this list is called Clementine H. Hopeful is Not a Hero. This book is a middle grade urban fantasy that follows a queer main character who finds a world where he can finally be himself. And I believe this book is marketed as a love letter to villains or something like that, because I'm not quite sure if the main character is supposed to be a hero or a villain. Anyway, this book comes out March 17th, 2026, and I am so excited to read it because, first of all, I love a story where a main character can find a world, like inside their own world, where they can be free to be themselves. Because when I was younger, I escaped into books because I could always find main characters that I could relate to, you know what I mean? But I would have been so happy if I had found a fantastical world within my own world, like my own Narnia or something like that. So anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited to read this book. I think it's a debut, but I'm only saying that because I've never heard of this author before. But either way, I'm so excited to read it. It sounds so good and so awesome. I think technically it's categorized as a portal fantasy, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I'm so excited to read it. I love reading queer fantasies, as we all know, especially queer middle grade fantasies, because I love reading queer middle grade, obviously, as the theme of this video. So anyway, all that to say, this book comes out March 17th, and I'm so excited to read it. The next book on this list is called Olivia Gray Will Not Fade Away. This book comes out the same day, March 17th, 2026, and follows a young black main character who struggles with accepting her identity as well as social pressures. And I believe specifically she finds out about her asexual identity and perhaps also an aromantic identity, which I think is so interesting and so awesome to include. Either it's one or both sexualities in a middle grade book, because I think that that is so incredibly important, because like I think it's incredibly important to write queer stories about queer young people discovering their identity, but especially also for LOA's young youth as well. You know what I mean? Especially in middle school, especially at an age where so many young people are like figuring out who they're attracted to romantically and everything. I don't know if any of that makes any sense, but basically I'm so excited for this book. It sounds so cool and so awesome. I think this book also might be a magical realism book, because I think maybe the main character turns invisible, so maybe that's involved. Either way, I'm so excited to read it. This author previously wrote Something Kindred, which I just talked about in a video a few weeks ago. So with that said, I definitely trust their reputation, and I'm so excited to read it. They've definitely written in middle grade before, I think, but I don't think I enjoyed any of those books, which is why I've never mentioned them before. But anyway, I'm so excited to read this book, and it's going to be so good. The next book on this list is called When You're Brave Enough. This story is a middle grade contemporary that comes out April 7th, and it follows a young sapphic main character who's preparing for her bat mitzvah, as well as a school musical. And the tagline that got me interested in this book is the fact that it's marketed for fans of Jake Maya Arlo, who's one of my favorite authors of all time. Like, I love their books down. So anyway, with that said, I'm so excited to read this book. And I think that Jake Maya Arlo is used for one of the author comps because of the Jewish representation specifically. But I'm so excited to read this book. First of all, I think it's a debut. But second of all, I'm so excited for the Jewish aspects, for the queer elements, and even for the musical elements, because I love a musical, as we all know. Even though recently I talked about how I didn't like Wicked Part 2. But anyway, I am so excited for this book. It better be absolutely so amazing and so well done, because I love a solid coming of age queer story. I think maybe the main character has moved as well. I'm not quite certain about that aspect. But anyway, like I said, the story comes out April 7th, and I'm so excited to read it. The next book on this list is called The Traitor's Gambit. This story comes out May 1st, 2026, and it's the 5th book in the Wilderlore series, which is a middle grade fantasy series that I've been keeping up with since the first one came out in 2021. Amanda Foody is one of my favorite authors. I have loved all of her books since the very, very beginning. I have supported her career since the very, very beginning, when she debuted with Daughter of the Burning City in 2017, I believe. Like, I love her book so much. I'm so excited to read this book. I love these characters. I love the world building. I love how queer normative it is. The main character is bisexual. Like, I love this book so much. I love the magic and the world building and the animals and everything. This series is absolutely so fantastic and it's so good. And I need more people to read it. I need people to really discover this book and fall in love with it. If you're missing something that Harry Potter left a void for you because you don't want to support, obviously, a transphobic author, support Amanda Foody instead. Because she is pro-trans people. She's queer herself. She's pro-Palestine. I love her so much. I'm so excited for this next installment in this series. I love this series so much. So anyway, with that said, this book comes out May 1st. And honestly, I'm quite surprised at myself to be able to say an eloquent book review for it already. The last book on this list, and hopefully not the least, is called Just Ask Elsie. This story is a middle-grade contemporary following a young sapphic main character who starts an underground advice board. And this book comes out June 16th. I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, I love the idea of a main character who's figuring out her sexuality. We've already discussed why I love that because I think it's so important and so relevant and so timely to have books targeted at young people who are discovering their sexuality because, again, it's so timely and queer youth need these books. But anyway, second of all, I love the idea of a main character like creating an underground anything, especially considering like advice and conversations surrounding consent and puberty, because those conversations, no matter who you are and who you identify as, are so incredibly important for all ages, but especially when you're 12 years old. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think this book is so important and so well done, despite the fact that I haven't read it yet, and it doesn't come out for another 6 months. I'm so excited to read it. I hope that it will be excellent. I hope that it will be so good and so excellent and so well done. So anyway, with that said, I'm really looking forward to this book, clearly, and it comes out June 16th, 2026. So in conclusion, this list is not exhaustive, but these are my most anticipated queer middle grade 2026 new releases. And speaking of 2026, I will be bringing back monthly TBRs for 2026, and I'm not quite sure if I'm only going to do monthly TBRs with my most anticipated books every month, or if I'm going to talk about every single book that I'm going to read in each month, which will be really lofty, since obviously I try to read more books each month than there are days in each month. But similarly to how I filmed my June TBR last summer, I might just film one of those videos where I talk about each book in 30 seconds or less. You know what I mean? Anyway, all that to say, stay tuned for my 2026 videos. Second of all, thank you so much for all of your support for the past year. I really, really do appreciate it. And I love making booktube videos so much. And I love talking about middle grade books so much. And again, I love connecting with other readers who love reading middle grade as much as I do. So thank you so much for all of your continued support. So anyway, with that said, in conclusion, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the mushroom emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!